Hello everybody and welcome back to the Brickazoid's Den. I know last week I said I didn't want this to happen, but it did again. I'm sorry, I gotta try and work on that. What I mean by that is, I haven't been able to upload like an Amphibia video every week when the new episodes come out. So I'm doing basically what I did for episodes 2, 3, and 4, and I'm going to be doing 6 and 7 in this video, just because I missed 6 was it last week? Yeah, last week. So, yeah, we'll get into it, though. We'll get into it, because these are some pretty good episodes. I think the final episode of episode 7 was definitely the best of the 4 segments that we have here. But again, I'm very excited to talk about this, and I am very excited for getting to that final episode as well, or that final segment in the episode. So I guess we'll just get right into it right now. All right, we'll start with Amphibia Season 3, Episode 6, Segment A, Mr. X. So basically we start off with a government agent typing on a computer, and Mr. X kind of explains just who he is. I believe Mr. X is played by RuPaul, which is pretty cool. And Mr. X deals with extraterrestrial beings, like the planters potentially. And Mr. X and Jenny, who is his, his partner in the government, federal government, find the planters on a security camera after the events of episode 5, or yeah, one of the parts of episode 5. I think it may have been the last segment. Either way, Mr. X and Jenny are hiding out in an ice cream truck, but they they want real food, so they end up finding the Boon Choi's restaurant, Tai Go. So then, that obviously causes big problems there, because that's exactly where the planters are probably going to be. So then we kind of cut to the Boon Choi's are pumped up after fighting the robot. Anne is taking the planters to go see a movie, but Anne's dad tries to do a pull-up because he's so amped up, but then just breaks the bar. And basically, Anne is just like, everybody needs to kind of calm down, because they're probably going to get hurt at some point. And the planters arrive at the theater, and then Mr. X also arrives at Tai Go. So Mr. X shows Mrs. Boon Choi a photo of the planters. I believe, was Anne in that one, I believe, as well? Yes. And then Mrs. Boon Choi is all, like, freaked out, because obviously she's talking to a federal government agent who's looking for the people that she's housing. Anyways, Mrs. Boon Choi tells Mr. Boon Choi to hurry up and, like, kind of get it going, because they want him to get out, or they want Mr. X to get out of there. And then Jenny bursts in, showing she located Anne and the planters. Mr. X gets excited as the Boon Choi's just kind of stand there and watch in horror. And then the Boon Choi's try to contact Anne as they rush into the movie theater. But then they do like this thing where Anne explains to the audience, a little exposition here, that it is hard to hear anything over the loud movie, so she can't hear her phone going off, of course. And then the Boon Choi's follow Mr. X trying to stop him. Anne and the planters walk out of the movie and then eventually see the text. And then Mr. X, it's a little too late. Mr. X arrives at the movie theater. Anne and the planters hide in like a room in the theater. I think it had some like a storage room, I believe. And Mr. X follows them. And then Anne and the planters, sorry. Anne and the planters first try and hide in the theater, one of the theater rooms playing a movie. Then Mr. X follows them. Then Anne and the planters escape the movie theater and hide. Mr. X goes right past them. Anne and the planters keep going. Anne and the planters notice Jenny scanning people at the exit, so they can't really get out through the exit. Anne's dad accidentally calls Anne's grandmother, after trying to call Anne, and then Anne's parents drive to the pet store while Mr. X finds Anne in the planters' hiding spot. Anne and the planters reach a dead end, and they hide as Mr. X bursts in to the storage room. Anne and the planters rush out as Hot Pop is grabbed. Mr. X doesn't know what Hot Pop is, because I think he left off something like the slime. And then Sprig throws a roll of film, and the planters escape Mr. X. And the planters lock the door, and then Mr. X uses a laser to open the door. Mr. X calls Jenny to call in the troops, which we eventually get to. And then Anne and the planters hide in like a bathroom stall. Mr. Boon Choi calls Anne, saying he has a plan, and while Jenny is leading an army of troopers. Mr. X then reconvenes with them, or re-meets up with them. And they burst into the bathroom. Anne and the planters get ready to fight Mr. X, but suddenly the power goes out. Mr. X turns on a flashlight to see a few actual frogs instead of Anne and the planters. Mr. X is kind of like humiliated in front of the troopers, and then Anne and the planters escape through the air vent. Then Anne's parents explain their plan. how they went to the pet store, got real pets, and all this different stuff. Anne's parents put a tracking device on Hop Pop, and that's how they knew which stall they were in. So that was a good way to end the episode, of course. But yeah, this is a good episode. I mean, I like the government agency type stuff. I think that's pretty cool, and I thought Mr. X was a very cool character. But we'll move on to this next one here. All right, now we have Sprig's birthday, which is a pretty good one. So we start off with Anne is reading Dante's Inferno, which is a good book. Hop Hop and Polly walk in with a mud crown because it's Sprig's birthday. Anne didn't know that, but I guess the point of birthdays on Amphibia is where you put on a mud crown and you must reflect on your life up until present day while like wearing the mud crown. So Sprig just does that, but Anne wants to give Sprig the best 11th birthday ever. So Sprig throws his mud crown out the window, this is another moment. Sprig throws his mud crown out the window, and it knocks out Mr. Boonchoy. Poor guy. He keeps getting like knocked out, or all of his stuff gets destroyed. I think in fixing Frobo, I think like his new game controller or something gets destroyed by Frobo's laser, and yeah, he gets knocked out in this. There was something else that happened to him. I don't know. I don't know. The poor guy. Anyways, Anne takes Spring to the Anne takes Sprig to the mall to get a wacky outfit. They go on a roller coaster. They eat at a Mexican restaurant, and then just kind of multiple scenes of Sprig and Anne doing a bunch of fun stuff for his birthday. People say happy birthday to Sprig. Sprig rates Sprig rates the birthday in his top 3, while Anne wants it to be number 1. So Anne sees a flyer for a hot air balloon ride, and then Anne and Sprig find like a very freaky looking clown hot air balloon when they arrive there. The person who was kind of driving it says that there's strong winds, so they can't really go on it today. But Anne insists, and Anne and Sprig kind of say they want to go into the balloon to use their imagination to do it. And the hot air balloon owner leaves, and they just hijack it and fly throughout the city. And then the wind blows the hot air balloon away towards the city, so then Anne and Sprig fly through the city on the hot air balloon, trying to avoid buildings and power lines, whatever. Anne and Sprig need to Anne and Sprig are going to crash into a sharp object when eventually they get there. And Anne and Sprig jump off the balloon, land in a dumpster, while Anne is kind of disappointed because she thinks she ruined Sprig's birthday. But Sprig says it was an amazing birthday. But it's still top 3. Because Sprig says that his number 1 birthday was when he was born, and number 2 is when his parents gave him his hat. So that's pretty cool to see for them to tell us how he ended up getting his hat. It was from his parents, who I believe died, and that's why he's with Hop Pop. Anyways, Anne got Sprig a telescope for his birthday, and then we kind of end off the episode with Anne's dad still stuck in the car at the hot air balloon place, even though Anne and Sprig are long gone by now. So yeah, like Anne's dad, I feel bad. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that episode, as well as episode 6 in general. So we'll move on to episode 7, which was this week's episode. All right, now we're moving on to Amphibia, season 3, episode 7. Starting off with segment A here, which is Spider-Sprig, like Spider-Man. Anyways, Sprig is watching a superhero movie with everybody. Anne's dad was watching it, Anne, Hop Pop, and Polly. And Sprig wants the town to like him, but he knows he can't go outside, just like, from the superhero movie. Everybody accepts him, even though he's like a bug creature. Anyways, Sprig kind of trains up in the attic using his frog abilities and comes up with different superhero designs, but eventually decides to choose the Frogman superhero design. Polly walks in on Sprig, Sprig jumps out the window and looks out for crime. He sees Robert Otto, the neighborhood safety supervisor, stopping kids from selling lemonade because I think they needed like a permit or something, but it was stupid. And they hear people screaming. A school bus can't stop moving because the brakes went out. And then Robert Otto he tries to stop it and then just gets drilled by the bus. Anyways, Frogman wraps his tongue around stuff in the street, like signs and the traffic lights and everything, which ends up stopping the bus from crashing. It turns out Robert Otto's granddaughter was on the bus, and thanks Frogman, and everybody's obsessed with Frogman. But Robert Otto's getting, I guess jealous. I guess jealous would be the word. But he's more like, he doesn't accept Frogman. He's, of course, probably Otto Octavius is what they're going for. But anyways, Doc Ock. Robert Otto, we cut to, is in a junkyard and finds a claw arm to destroy Frogman, while people still continue to love Frogman. There's like news reports, there's stuff on social media, etc. And then we have a fight between Robert Otto and Frogman, which again, it's basically Spider-Man versus Doc Ock. And then a chase kind of happens between both of them. And then while they're having a fight, all this destruction happens in this part of the city. Robert Otto's granddaughter returns, but she almost gets crushed by a street lamp after Frogman and Otto have their fight. Frogman saves her, and she tells Sprig and Robert Otto that their flashy battle was completely dangerous, and someone probably could have gotten super hurt. So then Robert Otto and Frogman decide that they'll clean up the city, and Robert Otto's granddaughter wants to see Frogman's face, but he refuses in a very superhero way. Sprig goes home to an angry Anne, says that he is done being a superhero, even though Anne thought his suit was cool. So yeah, I mean, this was a good episode. I don't remember what Robert Otto's granddaughter's name was. I think they said it a few times, but I just didn't catch it the few times that they did say it. But yeah, it was a fun episode. It was fun. It was fun. This wasn't the most I don't know, what is it, like, impactful episode, but this next one is definitely impactful. There's a lot going on in this next episode, or this next segment, I should say. Alright, so this is an episode that I've been actually waiting for ever since we saw, what was it, what was the Sasha and Grime episode? It was pretty early on, too. I think it may have been episode 2, I think it was in. Oh, no, what's it called? I don't remember. No, I don't. No, it's not. I was gonna say Return to Wartwood, but I don't think that's great. I don't think that's correct. Anyways, this episode I've been waiting on to see for a little while, because this is another Amphibia episode, obviously following Olivia, or Lady Olivia, and General Yunan. Anyways. So we start off with Marcy. It's kind of like a flashback. Marcy looks out over Amphibia on a balcony of the castle, and Lady Olivia talks about how she has cared for the environment always, and she's going to pass that down to Marcy. And then we kind of cut to King Andreas, who has already destroyed this whole land and put up machines to kind of, I don't even know what he was doing. He looked like he was like mining or something. And then Olivia and Yunan, I can't say it, were both summoned by King Andreas. King Andreas is talking to his superior, which I believe was the Core, which we see later in this episode. And King Andreas is deciding to promote Yunan. I can't say it. General Yunan, I believe it is. I keep saying Yunan. I don't think that's it. Anyways, and Olivia, and Lady Olivia. Lady Olivia will now oversee, the machines at work, while Yunan are going to get people, or rally up people to actually end up working. So Olivia and Yunan make a plan to save Marcy, who's in the basement under the castle. And then Yunan and Olivia make their way to like this hatch after Yunan uses her claws to go on the ceiling and go right over a bunch of frog bots. So then they find the hatch, they go in. So Yunan and Olivia go down to the bottom of the castle and find a grass monster who is pretty much harmless. He gives Yunan a flower. I think it was like a friendship gift or something they said. But they're trying to understand what this place is, but then Lady Olivia is like, I think this is where we kept all of our otherworldly creatures in prison, basically. It's basically a prison, I think it is, for a bunch of otherworldly creatures from their ancestors who have trapped them down here before. But yikes. But anyways, Olivia and Yunan come across a huge door, very Uncharted style, which looks cool. Anyways, Olivia and Yunan pull Marcy out of this liquid chamber. Very looks like Star Wars, where Luke was stuck in the medical bay chamber. And then Marcy's alive, which is pretty cool. That was great to see, hear Marcy's voice again after the events of Season 2, the finale. But she's kind of out of it. She can't really stand up. She can't really tell who she's with and everything. Anyways, a wall of eyeballs notices the three walking towards the exit, and the three get trapped in a projection. Marcy is caught in a school hallway, and her fear is her friends, like, not accepting her after the events of Season 2, where she kind of tells them, like, hey, I'm the one who brought you here, kind of stuff like that. So she was worried that that Anne and Sasha will not really accept her, but they probably will, hopefully. Anyways, Yunan notices the eyes, and the three all work together to destroy them all, to stop the projection. And just as they're about to leave, King Andreas shows up and stops them. And then we kind of learn about this new machine that King Andreas has been making called the Core, which, you know, it basically, they're gonna, like, the Core is going to be leading King Andreas and the Frogbots from now on, I believe. So anyways, the Core grabs Marcy and holds her down to use her as a host for the actual being within the Core. It's, I believe it was a collection of Amphibia's greatest minds all put into one, which is now called the Core. So then the Core machine shuts down, but now the Core is within Marcy. You know, Marcy is now the host of it. So Marcy's going to be like the big bad villain, I guess, of the season, which is going to be sad to see Sasha and Anne most likely having to fight them, or fight Marcy, which is a shame, but, you know, it's going to happen, and they're going to save Marcy, hopefully. I hope. That'd be kind of devastating if they end up having to, like, I don't know. I'm worried at the end of the season something's going to happen. I don't know if it'll be, like, a character dying, or, like, officially dying, or something. I don't know yet, but either way, that was it for Olivia and Yunan. Definitely the best episode of the 4 segments that I've talked about so far, and most impactful as well. Alright, so that was pretty much it for this video. Hopefully next week I'll be able to actually do episode 8 and not have to wait like another 2 weeks to do it. I don't want to make any promises, but I hope. I'll just say I hope. Anyways, if you enjoyed that video, do the common YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys later.